Hey everybody, I'm Captain Foley, and this is Fleetyards Mission Briefing. And of course, I'm joined by
Commander
my
Cockings.
trusty cohort, my partner in crime,
Your apprentice, even, maybe?
my Padawan.
There you go. Well, yeah, no, it's a Padawan.
Well, you know what they say, there are always two Siths. So maybe we're on the other side of that whole equation. Anyway, so this is, like I said, Fleetyards Mission Briefing, where we talk about a ship from the multitude of sci-fi universes out there, and we just kind of look at it, talk about it, discuss it, and kind of give you our opinions on it, and kind of work out some of the, what this could be, blah, 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 blah. So, and this is kind of a special week. So what's going on this week, Samuel? I don't know.
Well, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail and the title and the hint at the start, it's a Star Wars special. Rogue One, the new Star Wars movie for this year, 2016, is coming out this week, and we are doing a special Star Wars themed Fleetyards for this week. We are doing, as you saw in the trailers, this big, awesome, epic ship, the Star Destroyer, the original one from the New Hope, the Imperial Class Star Destroyer. What a classic. And again, got to mention, guys, this show, obviously, we use original 3D renders, 1080p. There's a few other things thrown in here, but hopefully you guys will like the great detail this shot. First, did you see Star Wars A New Hope in the cinema?
No, I would have been like, 4?
Okay.
So no, I did not.
Okay.
I don't know when I first saw it, but
What was the first impression, though?
I always thought these looked like door wedges, to hold doors open. Because, I was a kid, we had them around our house, the little rubber ones, and I always thought, same kind of shape. So
it props open the door and props open the Empire and keeps it...
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, it's always been an interesting design. I like it. It's not like boxy or kind of plain looking. It's very much sleek and angular, and it's got its own unique design, which is fantastic. So I absolutely love these ships, and I always have.
It's very aggressive, isn't it?
Yes, and one of the first shots you see, of course, in Star Wars is it chasing after the Corellian freighter,
Corellian Corvette, Tantive 5.
Corvette. Yes.
Tantive 4.
And you get this big blast of the engines as it goes over, and you see just how powerful they are and how big they are. So that always impressed me, that the size of this thing. And of course, that's kind of the in joke for Spaceballs, when Spaceball 1 goes by the camera forever and ever and ever, and then you see the big engines. So,
and we will get a sense of scale in a little bit, as we always do on Fleetyards. But I mean, I don't obviously remember the first time I saw this, because I was young, but I was shown Star Wars very young, so I sort of remember seeing all three at the same time. So it was all part of the world, as a lot of sci-fi tends to be for me. But I remember it's one of those iconic shapes of sci-fi. I think you have, the Enterprise, two nacelles, saucer, and a secondary hull, and then you have the Wedge, you have the Star Destroyer, and this is one of those other big iconic shapes. And it's a very impressive design, but it's actually very simple. But there's so much to it. It's a weird one, because obviously we're biased by knowing how much there is in the universe. But I really like it. I've always liked it. And I would not want to face it, honestly, in battle.
No. Because compared to everything else besides the Death Star, this is a huge ship. I mean, we got the Millennium Falcon, the X-Wings, the TIE Fighters. They're just so tiny compared to this thing.
Yeah, even the cruisers, the Corellian, the Nebulon T, or Nebulon B frigate. I mean, they're decent size, but yeah, this towers, and this is the smallest of the Star Destroyers. It's quite a bit larger than the ones from the prequel trilogy. They keep increasing in size, and then you have like the Super Star Destroyer, or the even bigger ones. But this is this was the star destroying perhaps ship to just conquer.
It's ironic though, is it not, that they're called Star Destroyers when the Death Star itself is the one that could destroy planets?
This could not destroy a star. Yeah, this couldn't even destroy a planet. I mean, a fleet of these could bombard a planet. I mean, obviously you're talking turbo lasers shooting into the ground. I mean, you could annihilate cities, but this would still take a long time to blow up a planet. I mean, the outside. I know the Super Star Destroyer, some variations have super lasers as well. That would be anyway. That's getting too much into the continuity. But Stuart, you tell me, what do you think the scale of this ship is? What does your gut say? And then we'll look at the scale in about 10 seconds after that.
Big. I don't know. Compared to, there's nothing really that I can compare it to in the Star Wars universe, except for, like you said, the Nebulon freighters or ships and things like that. And I think it's probably twice as long as some of those.
Yeah, three or more. But compared to Star Trek, say, what would you say was the scale? Like, what might this be comparative to, or 4 times this, 12 times that? I mean, just to put out a number there, so we can see for the next picture how close or far off you are. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure that at least 5 of these could fit in the JJ saucer. I'm just saying. That's such a big ship that JJ prize. I don't know. No, honestly, there's nothing really in Star Trek that's that big, unless you go to JJ and then you got the Vengeance. I can see it probably being a little bit bigger than the Vengeance. The Vengeance was retardedly big, okay, for a Star Trek ship. So I can still see this being a little bit bigger than that, though, just because it's the Empire and they think big. And I think... Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call. But I'm sure we're going to find out, because I haven't seen any of these pictures yet.
Shall we click to the next picture, then?
No. Yes, of course.
So that's the scale of this ship.
Whoa.
1,600 meters, and as we know, the Sovereign's about 680. So it's a good 2 and a bit times a Sovereign. Quite a bit more, 2 and a bit. What do you think?
It's about what I expected, because I know the Vengeance is about twice the size of the Enterprise E. So it's... Yeah. So crew-wise, this thing can hold quite an impressive crew, because there's a lot more volume, internal volume in there, than on the Starfleet ships.
Yeah,
but absolutely. Of course, I think a lot of that is engines at the back too. So
yeah, the crew's meant to be around 9,000 officers, 12,700 enlisted personnel, and 9,700 stormtroopers. So 9,000, 27,000, 9,000. So that's a good, 41,000, 42,000. A lot of people.
Crow. Yeah, I'd say so. Wow. Wonder how comfortable the quarters are on that thing.
That's interesting. Yeah, what sort of value do they place on comfortability? I mean, I would assume that as the ranks go up, like I think we know that stormtroopers have bunks, like multiple people, and I'm sure the higher every single rank, you get like an extra 10 square feet. So by the time you reach like the Grand Moffs or even the commanders, like you have a good stateroom. They're very much the top is putting this boot down on the rest of them. But yeah, I mean, scale-wise for me, I mean, this is certainly a big ship, and I always think of that meme, the Enterprise D Picard saying how quaint the Star Destroyer is firing, and it is so much bigger, and you never really get a sense of really how big that is, and this is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I think we should probably have that. We should do a whole podcast on could Star Wars beat Star Trek, and obviously there are certain numbers they give at different points. So what megawatt, gigawatt power weapons have, but those are just sort of thrown out there randomly. Like there's more to it than just that. But I think size-wise, you're absolutely right. The volume is huge for this ship, but it is a fighter carrier. It has a full complement of AT-ATs, ATSTs, speeders. I mean, this
TIE fighters, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the E has maybe a dozen shuttles, of maybe 2 dozen of different sorts, and work bees. That's it. Yeah. This one has squadrons, and each of these individual ships is a fortress, is a carrier, is a troop transport. I mean, each ship is meant to be everything. Whereas you look at the E, it's a battleship, but it's for ship-to-ship combat.
Yes, I'm sure the E is much more agile than the Star Destroyer would be.
I mean, I would assume that all of them are. I mean, leaps and bounds. What do you think though compared? I mean, obviously your ship is the Connie. I mean, you compare the two. I mean, look, the bridge is the size of their, deflector ball thing. Or the guns are the size of the bridge. That sort of says, oh wow.
The TOS Connie has never really been a big ship. It's the length of an aircraft carrier, which does seem kind of small when you think about doing a 5-year mission. But that's one of the things I've always wrestled with too, is the size of the Connie over the years. Is it the proper length, or is it too short? A lot of people say they're too small, but I think for realism, I don't know. yeah, this thing is just way impressive compared to the Connie. I gotta say.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the Connie's what, 460 crew, so compared to what you just
40,000, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I actually expected the Connie to be smaller than that compared, but all right. So going on to the next picture. Oh, more size comparisons. Holy crap.
There's quite a few in this episode because I want to now. Star Trek isn't just about the Fed ships; they're actually quite small. Let's compare it to bigger ships. Borg Cube and Dominion Cruiser. These smaller of the two crafts. This is not the Uber one. This is the Borg, and these are the real models, real sizes. Because, like I say, when we talk about this in every Fleetyards, basically, the Fed ships are actually pretty small. I probably should have had a Deredex along as well. I didn't think of the Deredex, which is about the same. I think it's 1400. This is 16. So, what do you think now compared to the Borg Cube? I mean, obviously the Borg Cube is going to be bigger overall because it's got the depth as well. But what do you think now?
I don't know what to say. I mean, I never really considered comparing it to a Borg Cube, but now that I see them side by side, it's like the whole Star Wars versus Star Trek argument becomes kind of interesting because there is such size there. A lot of turbo lasers, a lot of armament, I'm sure. I don't know. I think a Borg Cube would still make a Star Destroyer sweat.
Oh, I think it'd rip it through like butter.
Oh, assuming
it actually has shields. I mean, obviously, if it doesn't have shields, like we saw in Best of Both Worlds, like if they actually put the bloody shields on, it'd be even better. Not just hull regeneration, for goodness sake. I don't really, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when you start bringing these bigger ships, like the Jem'Hadar ship, I mean, it's sort of comparable in terms of the middle bit. I mean, it's not obviously the proportions different. It's going for a different aesthetic, but when you start to really get to those big ships, those aggressive ships, there are ships that compare in the universe. I thought it was kind of interesting just to compare to a Borg Cube, and suddenly realize actually it's not as big as you think. There is a comparative piece of tech,
Yeah. Wow. I want to see more.
But if we go to the next picture, now I'm pretty impressed that you called this out so early. I was kind of like, what do I say? You called out the Vengeance, and I was going to be cheeky and bring in the Vengeance. And this is the correct scale of the Vengeance, because I thought that'd be an interesting one to compare, because it's almost the same size.
Yes.
And this is this is the Vengeance. This is a Fed ship. So I thought, there you go. You already called it.
About right then.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Vengeance
just a little bit shorter, and the internal volume is pretty close. Well, no, because it's the Star Destroyer flares out at the back, so there's a lot of room back there. But looking at the side, though, I mean, it looks like the internal volume is pretty comparable, but knowing the layout of the Federation ship, it's not. So
yeah, this was originally just the side view, but I thought I'd add the Vengeance in there as well. But it shows how thin the Fed ships are, and then actually how, because the Star Destroyer does angle out like that as well. I mean, it's so much extra space at the back there. I mean, it's really, if you look at just each of those like levels at the back, going up and up, each one of those is the size of the Sovereign's entire secondary hull. So that's what, 10 decks, another 10 decks, another 10. I mean, that's it's big,
Do we know how many decks are on a Star Destroyer?
Yeah, I don't think we actually know the decks for a Star Destroyer. We've got a picture later on that might help with that, but I don't know if they use decks per se. And then obviously Vengeance, whatever that's going to be. But it's kind of interesting how the Vengeance actually is just, that would be a good fight. That they really are like comparable. But again, you're right, because that's the JJ verse has made everything huge. I mean, their JJ prize is the size of the D, which is then the Vengeance is another huge leap, which it just happens to be leaping into the Star Wars territory because JJ likes Star Wars, which makes sense then. That'd be a good fight, that would.
Absolutely, but I'm looking at the Star Destroyer going, those numbers for crew actually, for me, don't really add up. Looking at this, because you got to think, there's hangars in there full of TIE fighters, full of AT-ATs, full of everything. So a lot of that lower section is probably engines, hangars, storage for other like ground assault vehicles,
food. So they haven't got replicators, so food, water, gases, propulsion, fuel.
And I'm thinking, so just that top part would be all like the
Hmm.
command decks and crew quarters and things. I don't know. I don't think those numbers add up for the crew of that thing. It just seems kind of off to me.
Well, I would. I know they have like they have barracks for the soldiers, so you've got to assume that like the barracks is maybe a couple of football fields, which isn't very big, and that's got their entire 9,000 troops in that one zone. You know, officers are going to be sharing bunks probably as well, just in different ways. You know, like I would still assume that I mean the hangar's huge, but there's still going to be some play. You know, I wouldn't assume all of the bottom triangle bit is all, you know, function. I would assume still quite a lot of that. I mean, you can imagine like maybe the edges of the points of these sides there, maybe crew quarters as well. I mean, I think there's still space. Well, in fact, if you want to go to the next picture,
Yeah.
just to give you another size idea. Again, Vengeance being the comparative scale of ship, and again how wide it is. Well, I do want to point out. Remember, the Vengeance can be controlled by one person. The Star Destroyer needs a very large crew. Like their entire bridge is multiple people. I'd love to know how many people can. That in itself shows is more advanced technology. You know, you can do the entire ship with one person, and yet this other ship has a 40,000 crew, probably maybe a few hundred to operate. You know, interesting.
Yeah. See, again, this is where it falls down for me as far as the crew complement of a Star Destroyer, because I don't think that the Vengeance has a crew complement that high. It's probably like around the Connie's, or not the Connie, the Galaxy class. I'm thinking 2,000 people, let's just say, for the Executioner. In Star Trek lingo, I think that works out pretty well for something that size.
Well, it's like 3 times longer than the D though, and that kind of 1,000 minimum. And it's got so much. I mean, if you go back to the last picture, you look at the pure volume, and you're looking at what 4-5 times the volume.
But as per Star Trek, most of that secondary hull is hangar, engine room. They got we got the big guns and on the side and the deflector on the front. So it's a lot of equipment, right?
Yes, it shouldn't be though. I mean, we don't know. I mean,
I know. See, I don't know the numbers for the.
My assumption was the Vengeance could be like a lot of ground personnel, you know, a lot of tactical people. I would assume it can have 1,000 just armed personnel to board and do other things, and you know, 1,000 crew, 500 off. I don't know. It's obviously it's a very unique sort of ship. It's not really got any. It breaks half the rules of Trek, you know, so it's kind of difficult to really compare it. But I thought it was just an interesting scale comparison to see just the pure volume, because it does again change the perspective a little bit. You know, given the last picture.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that they're kind of squeezed in like sardines in the Star Destroyer there.
I wouldn't be surprised though. It's not a glamorous job, the Imperial Navy.
True. All right, so let's go to the next picture. Oh, this is a shot from behind. Those are the big engines I'm talking about.
Yeah, so we're back to the actual Star Destroyer itself now. We've done all the scale stuff.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoyed that, because I had fun making that. But yeah, a lot of detail. I know, what do you see straight away here?
Well, as we talk about with other ships and fleet yards, big engines and little engines. Do you think that the little engines are the hyperdrives, and the big engines are just the thrust for like slow sublight speeds?
I feel like I've seen a Star Destroyer go, and I feel like the 3 big engines have glowed for that. I feel like that's what happened. But I also feel like all 6 have been on at the same time, or 7. I mean, what would you? I mean, I would probably say the 4 were hyperspace, the big 3 were thrust. That'd be my guess if I was to make a bet.
Yeah, that's my guess too. This is almost kind of styled after aircraft carriers as well. You got the big conning or command tower and the radar, the Doppler radars on top. Looks very military.
It's a great thing about the Star Wars designs. Like, they've got a lot of detail, a lot of nernies, a lot of pieces, but actually they feel very functional. Like, they have a real sense of military to them. And I think you're right. I think the visual cue, because a lot of what we see in design, we are still biased by our knowledge of real world military, of Star Trek designs, of all these things, and so we see, you're right, these things, and we think, oh, it's more military. Like, that's why they designed it in. But I want to mention something I just noticed. So big engines, you've got a plating that continues out the top, but also continues out the bottom, and sort of angles out, and like the whole angled process. What's that about, do you think? Because there's a lot of extra metal to have, I don't think there's going to be crew in those. I mean, that just feels like metal to me. What do you think that's about?
It's almost superfluous. Like, why? Yeah, why is it there? I don't know if it's for protecting the engines that are, because where they narrow down and go into the ship. It almost seems like it's skirting over top of that to kind of protect that from being blasted, but at the same time, you get a good angle here. You can actually see the one point where it enters there. So I don't know. It looks cool. That's one of the main things, I think. But yeah,
There's also either side. There's obviously a trench in the side, but it actually comes out quite dramatically. I always thought the Star Destroyer was very much just a flat back and then engines, but it's not. There's actually a lot more intricacy to this design than I thought. I'm assuming because they use chemical engines as propulsion, or ion engines. I mean, there's probably still some backwash and some harmful stuff. I mean, especially the amount of thrust you have to push a 1,600-meter ship, fast, whatever. So maybe it's just to stop it from going out. So now it goes out like that, so it doesn't come back and hit the hull, maybe, or something, like a blast shield.
Yeah. Well, the shape of the engines themselves kind of take care of that for you.
True.
I don't know. That's. Do they serve a purpose, or are they just there to look cool? Who knows?
I like the shielding idea though for the battle. And what do you think of the whole? This is one of my favourite features actually. Is how the big top T shape, and then it comes back for this big neck, but it goes back beyond the other pieces. I really like that design. What do you think the whole way it's styled?
It's very. I don't want to say elegant because it's not. The T shape's cool. The angle going back, I really like that slope. The front, I always thought was a little bit harsh. It would have been cool if it kind of sloped forward as well. I think that would have made it look a little bit more. I don't know. I can't say aerodynamic because it's not supposed to be aerodynamic, but the flat front always kind of bothered me. But at the same time, that's also very cool and aggressive looking coming at you. So, yeah, I think this is a nice mix of both. I mean, they could have gone with a flat back as well, or even kind of a step thing instead of that slope.
But Stuart, where's the deflector dish for it to go into warp? I don't see a deflector dish.
Next. All right, so here we got the bottom. I always wondered, what's that bulbous thing on the bottom?
I'm pretty sure it's a solar ionization reactor.
You just remembered that?
No, I looked at a picture that showed it. No, because Fleet asked me briefly. Actually, look at pictures as well, trying to tell you more information. But yes, it was another generator, which is an interesting place for a generator, given it's so exposed.
Well, it's almost. Is it like a warp core on a Starfleet ship? It just kind of runs up and distributes power as it goes, and that's the bottom of it. Maybe there's an ejection port just in case it does overload or something. That takes up a lot of space though as well, which again goes back to my rear part's engines. That part's all power generation. The front part's all hangar,
which we can see in this shot. It's actually smaller than I thought it was. How the hangar, I always felt like it was a large swath of the hull. It's actually not really.
No, that's just the entry point too, though. I think once you get up there, there's lots of. There is interesting little doodads on the bottom there that have windows. Those interest me quite a bit. I'm wondering what those are about. Would they be recreational facilities? Perhaps?
That's an interesting idea.
Or where the office? You want the offices on the bottom of your ship, though. You'd want them near the bridge.
You can have the bowling alleys, the cinema there. I mean, think about it. You've got, for the most part... Yeah, well, exactly. For the most part, you've got, you're flying above planets a lot of the time, and you're not going to see a planet from necessarily the top, so have it on the bottom. Maybe. I mean, it's a military craft, but I'm sure even military craft have a little cinema room. And this is the size of a city, so why not have... Well, not a city per se, but, a town. A very small town, but a town, potentially.
And
village.
Until I saw this render, I didn't even know those things existed on the bottom of a Star Destroyer, to be honest with you.
And again, disclaimer, fan model.
Oh, okay.
because
Okay.
because obviously the only CG models of Star Destroyers were done for Rogue One. So I mean, this is a fan model, but obviously there's so much reference out there. So but the next picture is a cross section that you found, in fact, a little while ago. I thought it was definitely worth having in. It's not sorry about low resolution, but it does show sort of breakdown, which you've talked about, and it kind of puts in perspective the Hangar. The Hangar seems to be slightly further back than the renders is, but yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously you're right. It comes up the boarding area. Oh no, you're right. No, there's boarding tubes, and then there's also the fighter hangar. Maybe. No, I don't know. Can't tell.
Tie hanger. Yeah, I don't see any of the AT-ATs on this one. This could be.
Well, there isn't too much detail, to be fair. I mean, they could be anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of. But what do you think about the space displacement and it sort of seems like what you were thinking, but what do you think?
Exactly, that's kind of what I was thinking. Because look at that rear part; it's all engines, which seems odd to me. I just and what's to say for crew on here? Where we are. Officers 25, vessel maintenance 112, gun crews 138, field commanders 18.
Total 750.
Yeah, see, that seems more realistic to me.
750 people in a six. Okay. I mean, I was using the 30,000 from the Star Wars wiki, so.
Yeah, I know. This could also be just a fan done thing, right? But this seems like a lot of people. It really does.
Yeah, that might be like on a military campaign. Like we're actually going to go off and fight somebody, as opposed to just patrol.
Yeah,
like
true,
fully stocked. Although one thing that sort of I don't buy this fan version is the fact they got so many turbo laser cannons like in all the different elements. Because from my interpretation of how the ship fights, there's 8 cannons either side, and then some at the bottom. So they turn and shoot. There's no like forward-facing top guns. I don't think they're in the decks. That seems unlikely to me, and I've never seen it shoot from there. So I don't
neither
think
have I actually. It's a very good point. They do tend to come out that trench along the side of the ship, and those are the little turbo lasers for when a fighter's attacking or something to kind of take out small craft. It's a point defense, right? So yeah, those ones don't really add up for me either.
But to be fair, there are lots of different types of Star Destroyers. This could possibly be another version, or just a very old version, or just a very old. I mean, it says it's 686 meters, 0.5 meters. So I mean, or 400. I mean, again, fan stuff is all. I mean, it's all fictional anyway. But it's worth saying. But let's go to the next picture though, because this is the one that we're waiting for from this book, which I happen to have the original version of. Haha. So you guys are going to look at it. Yeah. So I'm gonna look at the real version. You guys can look at the one on the screen. So yeah, massive engine. You got the big, the big thing in the middle, big area. I mean, really, there's a lot of stuff in it.
Well, that big thing in the middle would be the generator, which goes to the bulbous part at the bottom too.
Yeah.
So just a big, that's cool.
But it certainly puts into perspective how much physical components are needed. That entire side section just filling up the space. I mean, this isn't like neatly warp core. There isn't a neat little cylinder throughout the hull that provides all the energy for the entire ship. No, you need a half a mile long big turbine to create power. I mean, Star Trek is so much more advanced. I mean, it's just nuts how much more. But there's a cross section of the actual top bit of the different of this bit, and you can see it's just like little decks. I mean, you're looking at dozens of decks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably a lot of personnel in there. And
It's very interesting. You get your water storage right near the front, in front of the hangar bays and stuff, which you had mentioned, because there's no replicators on this.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have, it says raw materials, you've got to have copper and iron, just things to repair and build things.
Yeah. The whole front tip of this thing is tractor beam power cells and big pursuit tractor beams.
Oh, okay.
Auxiliary reactor.
Interesting. I like how the TIE fighters are just either side of the big bay, and they'll just launch either side. Like, that's a cool way of doing it. and you can leave with a lot of TIE fighters in those. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of. And they're probably multiple levels as well. We'd hope. I mean, it's such a big ship.
Now, one thing that comes to mind, especially with Rogue One coming out, these I never assumed in a million years could operate within an atmosphere. We do see them in the trailers for Rogue One in an atmosphere just above a planet's surface. I would assume that there's some heavy-duty anti-grav units somewhere on this ship, because this is a big beast, and it's not like it's aerodynamically sound that it can just fly in a circle or hover or whatever. It needs some kind of anti-grav generators, because I didn't know it could go in an atmosphere. I don't know what you guys thought before seeing that. We saw one crashed on Jakku, which could have came out of orbit, of course.
And in the Force Unleashed, they pulled a Star Destroyer out of orbit. Hell of a game. Seriously, play it. Pull a Star Destroyer.
Amazing. Yeah.
We destroyed one in person. Anyway, see, I thought it was possible. I never had the It's kind of strange, because my interpretation was kind of like, this ship is meant to do everything, just universally. It's the absolute top of the Force, you know. So I did think that you could probably Star Wars has a lot of repulsor. I mean, all their transport is based on repulsor lifts. That's their basic technology.
Yeah.
You know? So I assume that you could probably just come down, hover, and then it can shoot. I mean, if you want to question a rebel, a rebel little base, or a less advanced thing, you come down from orbit, everyone's like, oh my god, and then you start blasting people away and you launch TIEs. I mean, just not obviously the day-to-day operation, but I mean, why wouldn't you build it to do that? I mean, just the off chance, you know.
Well, that being said, why in Empire Strikes Back did they launch the ground assault and not just have this few Star Destroyers that were there?
Because it was more interesting to do the whole AT-AT thing.
Exactly. But that's why I never considered that they could go into atmosphere. I mean, I remember seeing over the years in comics and stuff, seeing them, a few of them but I don't know. I don't think that these should be atmospheric.
Well, we know that the Venators, the original version, or the Acclimators, the ones from Star Wars 2, Attack of the Clones, they actually land, they're launched from the ground. Obviously, they are much smaller, and they obviously can fly in orbit because they have to physically leave the atmosphere. And the ones after that, in Episode 3, they're fighting in high Coruscant orbit. And my assumption is, maybe a few of them are sort of getting a bit lower as well. I mean, planets are big. I mean, you want to just be able to bring this might be a bit too big. I mean, I think you probably push it.
I don't have a problem with a high orbit. It's just when I saw it in Rogue One, just above the horizon, it's just I don't know. It changed my thinking.
Well, they're inventing canon as they go. So, but anyway, the next picture, back to the actual ship itself, is just a great little picture of the sort of step up design, and just super functional, super nerdy, but very cool. I like it. I mean, this is really what gives it the life, I think. I mean, some designs just come together, and having this and that T-shape at the top. If you took the T-shape off and just had it flat, it became very, very boring. But each part works together to give it some life, and I really dig it. Yeah,
I do too. And like I said earlier, it does look like an aircraft carrier kind of design, but I question the rationality of putting the bridge where they did, because we saw an A-wing crash right into it. Also, those domes on top, I'm sure, get them away from the ship so they can do their job, whatever. But I think there's probably a better way to do those, because again, you see those getting shot at and destroyed pretty easily.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they have deflector shields, and obviously deflector shields are meant to go against other capital ships, and since this is the top ship of the fleet, this can defend itself against any of the big ships. But fighters can get in deflector shields, I believe, and therefore you've got the lesser deflector shields. You know what I mean? If you get a meter from the ship and start firing, the field isn't hugging the ship. I don't think that's not how it works for this one anyway.
Yeah.
That's why they could shoot it and explode. But you're right. But that's narrative. That's George Lucas on the third film. It's all, Yeah, I sort of agree, but it's like the bridge with the Connie. I mean, the shield's there for a reason. If the shields go down, the ship's in trouble anyway. You know, so have the bridge out. I mean, the deflector's completely visible on on any Starfleet ship. It's in the front. Which if someone fires a torpedo into that, well, they're pretty much screwed in multiple things. Or the warp nacelles. If you get a hole through a warp nacelle, it can't do warp. So I mean, it's a failure in multiple ways. But you got to have things out for practical reasons.
Absolutely. You just made me look bad. That's fine.
No.
Next picture is a close-up of the top part. And lots of greeblies and things on these ships, which I really like. The extra detailing is very cool.
And can you see the bridge, that little thing right in the middle, those little hexagonal... It's so small.
It's so cool, though, because we know what it looks like inside, size-wise.
I didn't know it was right there. That's kind of cool. Yeah. But that kind of gives you an indication how many decks that thing is. I mean, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that's at least 8 decks, 10 decks, just that bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would be a lot of the command functions and stuff up there. Not so much any barracks or anything, I don't think. So.
Probably like the captains, the staterooms, probably in that as well. Because you're also right next to the deflectors. So, I mean, I think deflector strength you have the most near the bridge, where the bridge is, where the deflectors themselves are. So you'd probably the safest place is where they're going to defend the most, Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where Darth Vader lives.
But the next picture is a close-up of the gun turrets. I don't remember them looking like this, but I did some quick investigation, and a lot of physical models, they have gun turrets like this. Either I remember them looking like 2 big ones, so I think there's like variants. But these are the primary batteries, which there's 4 of them, and they turn, and that's that because you are meant to sort of side and or whatever. But
those are more the point defense ones, I think, because
right.
We're back to the cutaway. There was a heavy gun turret.
Yes.
Inserted in there, so I think those might be located.
Well, they should be here. I mean, they should.
I thought they were there, to be honest.
No, I think the guys didn't model them. I mean, because I've played multiple video games where I can fly around a Star Destroyer and they are there. Just not on this model, but that's where they are. That's the primary guns and all the agreeablies and things. Just interesting.
Cool. All right, so the next picture. Oh, that's very cool, actually. That's the hangar bay where they grab the ships from, or launch ships from, as the case may be. It's got some cool little dishes there pointing backwards.
Yeah, I made sure to light them, so you can see there's dishes, or forwards, pointing forwards. I'm assuming those are deflectors or even secondary tractor beams, maybe. Yeah, maybe they rotate. Maybe they rotate and help pulse
Probably, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That is a big thing for them. And you can see all the doors on either side. They're probably open, and you probably got like 2 or 3 floors, and they always come out.
And we know how they have the TIE fighters kind of like on a chain almost.
Yeah.
So you open the doors and one launches, next one launches, and the thing just keeps rotating through.
But apparently you've got 72 TIE fighters, 8 Lambard class shuttles, which we've already looked at on Fleetyards, 20 AT-ATs, and 30 ATSTs or ATDTs, and 15 troop transports.
Very cool.
Yes. But it's a very... I love that placement. I think it's really interesting. That's such an iconic part of the first movie. I mean, you can't not like it or be scared of it. But do you think there's actually doors that close? I've never seen it closed.
I was just going to say that. I don't think it does close.
Yeah.
I think it has a force field active most of the time. Would be my thinking. I don't know.
But you should really build... the Empire is not exactly the best at designing things. They leave a very small ventilation hole and then a tunnel that takes directly to the core of their second station, and they're not the best at weak spots, so don't build a door.
The second Death Star wasn't completed, but we'll talk about that later in this week, maybe.
The next picture is the first picture.
So that was our little discussion on the Star Destroyer. We kind of got off topic a little bit there, talking about some Star Trek stuff and a few other things. But
we are a Star Trek channel, and compare it to stuff we know. It's important.
Yeah. I saw a few things, especially in the cutaway and stuff, that I haven't really taken a chance to look at. Yeah, and it was very, very interesting. I would love to do a full Fleetyards episode on this thing and actually research it and get the actual numbers for crew and stuff, because, wow. My final thought, because I know you're going to ask, these things are impressive. They impressed me as a kid. They impress me still. And they're a classic design and a classic look that you just can't beat. I mean, other sci-fi franchises have tried to make ships that look very cool and iconic, and I like I've said before, most of them end up looking like gray bricks or boxes floating through space with big engines tacked on and things. This is very unique and it's its own thing. So there we go.
Cool. And do you like all my scale renders I did? Because I put some time into those.
Yes, thank you for doing the Vengeance, by the way. I didn't even think that
you thought that. I was going to surprise you.
So that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, my closing thought, echoing what you said, amazing design, so much there. I would love to see even more, more detailed colorways, know exactly what size, how much of the ship is engines, how much is hangars. It'd be really interesting. And having done the scale, I've now got a really wow, it's big but not too big, but still really big. But it was built for scale. I mean, the Empire does intimidation. They do scare. Look at the stormtroopers. They're in white gleaming armor. They've got blasters that make a lot of noise. For the most part, they're going against weaker enemies, less advanced or even primitive in some situations. So having a huge ship is part of that intimidation. You see this hyperspace you've got this fighter, this little cruiser, this little transport ship, and you're like, well, I can't take on this huge ship. Look at the Death Star, look at the Super Star Destroyer. I mean, they go for scale, they go for raw power, and this is certainly a great example of that. And I think it will always be a terrifying part of sci-fi lore.
Yes, I totally agree.
So if you guys like this episode, please like the channel, like this episode, comment what you think of the Star Destroyer, what other ships you want to see on Fleetyards. If you have ships you'd like to see and you haven't know about 3D models out there, let us know. If you worked on Star Wars and want to talk to us about this ship, please do. We love you all. And
in the link below, there's a Patreon link. Please click it. It'll help us create full episodes on all these great ships for full Fleetyards episodes. And later this week, on Friday, it's special because Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is coming out. Go see that in theaters. But as a bonus for you guys, that day we're also going to release a Fleetyards mission briefing on a special ship. Which I'm not going to say what it... Well, I think I already did earlier.
No, you vaguely... But all right. It's fine. Or you can watch the entire episode again and learn all the same stuff again and try and pick up on the hint. But no, yeah, another special. And like I said, donate on Patreon because that's how we support the show and this new spin-off, Fleetyards. And the more we get, the more we can make. And we're so close to our $1,000 goal. So please give if you can and just support us, help us make great stuff for you guys. And you learn new things like the scale and all these great things. So if you can, please do. And I think until next week, I'm Connor Coggins.
I'm Captain Foley.
We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
May the Force be with you.